March 19th, 2017. This video is called Fukushesium, 210 Years of Carcinogenic Contamination. Now you got to remember, look at the pictures. The largest nuclear power plant on the world at the time blew up. Here's unit 4, 3, 2, 1. They blew up to nothing. Remember that? Fukushima Daiichi status, unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, spent fuel pools. Unit 1, damaged, core damaged, 2, core damaged, 3, core damaged, 4, core damaged, and they usually don't talk about unit 5 and 6, which is not in the picture here. But the core was damaged at 5, and 6, the core was damaged. International Atomic Energy Agency incident and emergency center. As of March 15, 2011, informed by Japanese authorities that the spent fuel storage pool at Unit 4 of the Daiichi nuclear power plant is on fire. Radioactivity is being released directly into atmosphere. Now this is an annual report from TEPCO, annual report 2016. And this is very important. A third-party committee investigation into the issue of information disclosure and public relations associated with the accident at Fukushima Daiichi Nuclear Power Station confirmed that the true nature and extent of the accident was not fully disclosed on the order of then President of TEPCO, who, immediately after the accident, instructed employees to not use the term meltdown. Reflecting on the inappropriateness of the information disclosure, TEPCO Holdings would like to extend its sincere and deepest apologies to the general public, especially residents of the area in the vicinity of the power station, for its failure to clearly communicate the facts about the accident. Well, I still don't believe them even now, but this is actually in their own annual report. Now, don't bother with this picture because a lot of people will say it's all fake because this is the radiation. I think this was actually the height of the wave of the tsunami, but we're not worried about this. What we're worried about is this set paragraph right here. But new light has been shed on the matter as several scientists have proved that Japanese official estimates have been flawed in recent years. But the fact that the plant is still leaking nuclear waste into the Pacific Ocean is not the worst thing about the disaster. Namely, the nuclear reactors will continue to leak forever because the source of the leak is inaccessible to both humans and robots due to enormously high temperatures and cannot be sealed. Now, what we're most concerned, that's why I call it Fukushesium, is it's the danger of cesium-137. Cesium-137 is the most common heavy fission product. Fission of various isotopes of thorium, uranium, and plutonium all yield about 6% cesium-137. Now this is NOAA. Radioactive decay is defined as the process by which radionuclide releases energy in the form of alpha particles, beta particles, or gamma rays over time, transforming into a different state until the element is stable again. Now, a half-life is defined in terms of probability. Half-life is the time required for exactly half of the entities to decay on average. In other words, the probability of a radioactive atom decaying within its half-life is 50%. And here's a little diagram of the half-life. If you start with 4 or 400, a half-life means half of them have decayed. Cesium-137 has a half-life of 30 years, a beta decay. It decays to a metastable state of barium-137. Now, cesium-134 has a radioactive life of 2 years. Now, the decay of cesium-137, this is immediately. Now, in 30 years, half of it will have decayed. In 30 years, another half. In 30 more years, another half. 110, another half. 150, another half. 180, another half. In 210 years, the original amount of cesium will have decayed into the barium-137. Now here's a little graph of it. It decays into a stable barium-137 in 30 years. Now the important one is the cesium-134 because it only has a half-life of 2 years. Now, this is information coming right from the website of the Ministry of the Environment from the government of Japan. Now, they're doing radioactive material monitoring. Now, they're doing surface, water bodies, sediments. Now, this was done in 2012. The water qualities, cesium-134 and 137, it says there's lower detection limits. And if you look on the maps, now this is the water quality. There's going to be not much found in the water, and I think it's because the water is always just moving around, so it's almost impossible to find high samples. But when you are reading sediment results, cesium-134 and 137 are all over the country. These are the figures right over here. Now, I'll show you the map that I did, and I only took the highest levels. This one has 38,000. These are becquerels of kilogram, dried mud. 137, there's 49,000. And as you could see, all these cities and every sample tests positive for cesium-134 and 137. See, here's the water. It's not showing it. But when it gets back to sediment around lakes and rivers, it goes on and on and on. Now, I won't bore you with that. I just want you to know this is in 2012. This is a little less than a year after the incident. Now you can't see it. Oh yeah, here it is. Fiscal year 2014. Cesium-134. They got ranges in the sediments in the rivers between not detected and 190 becquerels. Cesium-137, 1.1 to 630. Lakes and rivers, up to 2,200. Cesium-137, up to 6,500. Surrounding environments, 137, 18,000. Now there's the water. Now the water is picking up some, but since it's less than 1, they're detecting it is not detected. That's the water. Now here's sediments. Every sample is testing positive for cesium-134, 137. But what's interesting is cesium-134 has a half-life of 2 years. Now this is in 2014. Now this is in 2015, and I can't find anything that they're testing sediments. This test right here is all for water. See, they're showing non-detected cesium-134, 137. This is groundwater. This is all groundwater, non-detected. But the point of me showing this is they're only testing groundwater in 2015. You need to test the sediment to have a better range of what the hell's going on over there. And I just find it interesting that in 2012, they're testing water for radioactive cesium, lakes, headwaters, coasts, bathing areas, sediment, surrounding environments. But if you really want to know what's going on in 2015, they're only testing the water. There is no test for 2016 or 2017. Now this is in Awate. In 2014, they're finding cesium 134 and 137 in sediments in rivers, coastal areas, and in the soil. Rivers. Look where that's at. This is way up over in here. Fukushima is down over here. And this is testing positive. Now, you can go for yourself. I don't want to make this video to be like really too long. But you can go into these results and see all the different prefectures that they ended up testing, where it's testing positive for cesium all over the country. Now this is iodine 131. This is the plume just from the 11th through the 17th, 1 week. So they only have this map for 1 week. And you know there was a lot more that was coming out afterwards, but this is the initial plumes. See how it's dusting and getting all over the country? Now, these are the wind patterns for 3/11/2011. Now, on the 12th, the wind is blowing out to sea. On the 15th, they're going down south. And on the 15th, they start blowing in. This is when all that stuff started blowing in towards the country. Look at it, they go totally west. All this stuff was blowing down and around and all over the country on the 16th. And now they change direction and kind of blow down. And then again, on the 18th, about 1 week after the disaster, winds are blowing in towards the shore and in towards the middle of the country now. And since this stuff is not like oil and black, where you could see where it's going from, we have no clue where this stuff went unless you surveyed every square foot of this country. And you know that they're not going to do that. And even if they did, when the wind blows and the rain comes down, it moves the cesium and all those other isotopes all throughout the country. Now here's the rainfall. Here's where you're actually going to get the fallout coming down onto the ground. This is on 3/11. The rainfall actually doesn't start coming down until the 15th. March 16th, here comes the rain. And look at how it's just covering all this. So this means that the stuff that was blowing in the air is actually coming down now and settling onto the ground and onto people and animals, livestock, and plants. So March 16th was a very bad day to be outside in Fukushima in the country of Japan. Now in this article it states, the writers at Deep Sea News have published several articles that address concerns about the human health and ecological impact of radiation releases from Fukushima. This article is from January 2014 and provides credible information about what is actually occurring and or to dispel myths about Fukushima radiation that are prevalent on the internet. Now this is when a lot of our people were coming out and saying low-level radiation is not really that bad for you. Now here has always been my problem with the then President Obama during the time of the Fukushima disaster. The levels of Fukushima-derived radionuclides detected in air, drinking water, food, seawater, and marine life in California are extremely low relative to the pre-existing background from naturally occurring radionuclides. First problem is what came out of Fukushima are radioactive radionuclides, not naturally occurring, and the persistent residues of 20th century nuclear weapons testing. The additional dose of radiation attributable to the Fukushima disaster is commensurately small, and the available evidence supports the idea that it will pose very little additional risk to the humans or marine life. If that's the case, why in the world did Obama leave and go to the southern hemisphere? And he told everybody to do not take precautionary measures. So that means anybody that was in the United States, it took 4 days for the fallout to travel to California, and whoever was outside during that time had all of these radionuclide isotopes, cancer-causing particles, to come down on them. For that, I think Obama is a criminal. 2016, it says, for the first time, seaborne radiation from Japan's Fukushima nuclear disaster has been detected on the west coast of the United States. Cesium-134, the so-called fingerprint of Fukushima, was measured in seawater samples taken from Tillamook Bay and Gold Beach in Oregon. Researchers from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute are reporting. Because of its short half-life, Cesium-134 can only have come from Fukushima. For the first time, Cesium-134 has been detected in Canadian salmon. In both cases, levels are extremely low, the researchers said, and don't pose a danger to humans or the environment. Well, this is Cesium-134. Remember, this has got a half-life of 2 years, and they're reporting this in 2016. I think the fish are caught in 2015, so that's 4 years after the accident. And if Cesium-134 has got a half-life of 2 years, there shouldn't be an extreme amount that is being put out and found. Now it states last July, this is in 2014, so that would be in 2013, the Tokyo Electric Power Company, which operates the plant, acknowledged for the first time that the reactor was leaking contaminated underground water into the ocean. Since then, the news has gotten worse, and there's widespread suspicion that the problem is underreported. So the TEPCO admits in 2013 that the reactors are still leaking into the ocean. University of Victoria, 2017. For the first time, seaborne radiation from Japan's 2011 nuclear disaster has been detected in Canadian salmon, says the University of Victoria chemical oceanographer Jay Cullen, who leads this informed coastal network that monitors marine radioactivity off of British Columbia. The single sockeye salmon contained a minuscule amount of Cesium-134, the fingerprint isotope from Fukushima. The salmon was collected in this lake in the summer of 2015 and was one of 8 fish out of a total 156 that tested positive for trace levels of Cesium-137, also a man-made isotope, but not necessarily from Fukushima. As of 2015, they're testing positive for Cesium-134. Remember, that's the 2-year half-life isotope. The Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. Another radionuclide of concern, Cesium-134, has a half-life of 2 years, which means it is rapidly disappearing. Because of its short half-life, Cesium-134 is one isotope that, if we find, could have only come from Fukushima. It was also released in equal proportion with Cesium-137. So when we detect Cesium-134, we first adjust for its decay over time, and then we can calculate how much total contamination was released. It's the fingerprint of Fukushima. But this fingerprint provided by Cesium-134 is rapidly fading, he states. But if you look at his tests, the results, here's Cesium-134, 2015, 1.6. Cesium-137, 7.6. 1.9, 9.1. 1.3, 6.6. 1.1. This is in 2015. They're still detecting Cesium-134. And look how far out it is. It only has a half-life of only 2 years. So this proves that it's still leaking if they're still finding cesium-134. Then you got websites like Snopes, who cares? Radioactive Canadian salmon tied to Fukushima disaster, ? A single sockeye salmon found in the Canadian lake in 2015 did test positive for trace elements of Fukushima radiation, but this is not a demonstrable health concern. You're going to get that, like, throughout these people that definitely are pro-nuclear. It says, to be sure, the disaster was a worldwide environmental catastrophe with global effects. The presence of a single salmon with trace elements of cesium-134, undoubtedly the result of Fukushima, will nevertheless have a barely negligible, let alone catastrophic effect on public health. Totally downplaying that the news should be that they're even finding cesium-134 in the first place. Cesium-137, long-lived radionuclides such as 137 are something new to us as a species. They did not exist on Earth in any appreciable quantities during the entire evolution of complex life. Although they are invisible to our senses, they are 1,000,000 times more poisonous than most of the common poisons we are familiar with. They cause cancer, leukemia, genetic mutations, birth defects, malformations, and abortions at concentrations almost below human recognition and comprehension. They are lethal at the atomic or molecular level. Readings of the cesium-137, some of the highest numbers is what I wrote down and found where they're at. Now, this seems to be the highest one here at 190,000 becquerels at this dam here. I can't even pronounce these names, so I'm not going to butcher them up because someone will probably complain about that. But over here, 12,000. I could see how it was close to Fukushima, where it's got a ton of these becquerels. 38,000, 28,000, 6,000, 52,000. Almost 10,000 here. But look at out in this countryside. There's 10,000 becquerels. 16,000 over here. Over here there's 8,000. Over here there's 10,000. Over here at this pond, Oiki Pond, 23,000. Here's 8,000. This over here is right in this city over here. 10,000. Now, they don't pinpoint which bridge it is. I can't find where the bridge is that they did this test. But still, for the fact that somewhere in this town, it tested 10,000 becquerels, which is way over here. Here it tested 20,000. Here's 3,000. Here's 14,000. Here's 7,000 at this city over here. At this Shingo Dam, 660. Now remember, this is why I called it Fukushesium. 210 years of carcinogenic contamination, because this has got a half-life of 30 years. So a couple hundred years from now, 210 years, is when it's finally going to be gone. But this is leaking right now to this day and creating more of these new isotopes. So actually, it's not 210 years of carcinogenic contamination. This is going to go on forever. And until they do more tests of sediment in 2017 or 2018 in the future, we're not really going to know how bad the country of Japan is. And there's a reason why they're not testing it anymore. Because, those documents will be out there and people will be able to find them. So, whoever is behind this cover-up, it's happening to this day, still, right now. And every test that they did contained cesium. Now they're saying Tokyo is down over here where millions of people live. And it's just as bad down over here. So the whole country is screwed. And who knows what it's like living over there. Like if the government comes and takes you away and recruits you to go pick up some fuel rods on the ground at Fukushima if you cause trouble over there, I have no clue. But I know that by saying nothing, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to die, and they're not going to be able to definitively say it came from their so-called green nuclear energy. Clean green nuclear energy is what they call it. Well, I'll challenge anyone, especially the nuclear shills and pro-nuclear people, to prove me wrong that nuclear energy is clean green energy. That's the biggest farce I've ever heard. My conclusion to this video on Fukushesium is this, that it's just amazing how one accident can totally destroy a country. Now, using these results of the radiostrontium analysis of sediment in 2011, I'm only going to look at the cesium-134 and 137. And as you can see, these are some high numbers. These are not negligible numbers. 27,000, 33,000, 10,000, 10,000, 12,000, even 2,000. Now what I'm going to go for is these prefectures. These prefectures in here, I'm going to show you where they are throughout the country, just to show you how widespread this damage is. Now here's the Miyagi. Here's Fukushima. Here's Ibaraki. Tochigi. Gunma. Went all the way over here. Here's Chiba. It went all the way down in here. Now here's a radiation dosage distribution, radiation map. Now this is showing cesium-134, 2011. Look at how much of the country has been contaminated. And here's 137. And this is them combined. This is about, I think they say about 70% of the country is contaminated by one nuclear power plant. And these are the worst spots. Definitely you could see where the wind blew it out, and it must have came down in the rainfall in these areas that are blue. Now this is proof how one accident can totally destroy a country. And there's hundreds of these nuclear power plants. So this is not going to be the last time that this happens, unfortunately. But this is total proof that nuclear power can totally destroy a country and its people and put them through misery. This is just incredible how much contamination that Japan has. And they want to bring the Olympics in here and play baseball in Fukushima and want to pretend that everything's back to normal. Well, it's never going to be normal.